My name is Adeo Tibukola. I'm here to teach you government. Government is one of the most simple subjects, and some students find it difficult during their exam to answer some common questions. I'm here to teach you to download and expatiate, explain deeply the meaning of government. I will start by define the meaning of government before I move to the functions performed by the government. Before we discuss the state, the meaning of state and nation. Then I want to teach you the formation of government, which is known as what? Form of government. Before I move to the type of government that we have, the type and system of government. So I will want to teach you all this within a twinkle of an eye. Now let me start by writing government on board. My dear students, you can see that government is being practiced in our environment. For example, in Nigeria, we have government. So government is a practical subject. It's something that you see with your naked eyes. How can you define government? We can define government as a body that controlling the affairs of a state. I will repeat myself again, that when you are talking about definition of a government, because government starts from individual home. If I can ask you, who is the head of a family? You will all tell me it is father. Second in command of every family is mother. Third in command is what? The firstborn. Who is in charge of the family? It is the father. They are controlling the affairs of the family. So also government of a country. It means government may be defined. Government may be defined as a body that controlling the affairs of a state. What do I mean by a state? See, this do give some student problem. The meaning of a state, when we say state in a government, state simply means a place that has a defined territory. That has a defined territory with an organized government. That is any territory that is defined. That as an organized government is known as a state. For example, we have e.g. Nigeria as a state. We have Nigeria as a state. We have Ghana as a state. We have America as a state. We have Britain as a state. All these are called states. From the layman angle, they call it country, but in government we call it state. Any organized government that controlling the affairs of the government, it means a country. What am I saying here? A government may be defined as the body that controlling the affairs of a state. You can see it is a body that controlling the affairs, it's a group of people that controlling the affairs of the state. Now, I can now move forward to tell you some functions performed by the government. What are the functions performed by the government? That is, they perform many functions. One, The first function performed by the government is the provision of employment opportunity for the people. That is to say, what I mean by this, it is the responsibility of every government to create job opportunity for the unemployed. 2, the second point that I want to discuss is that government protects the life and property of the people against the internal or external attack. For example, we can see what is going on in the northeast in Nigeria now, where the emergence of Boko Haram in the northeast. It is the duty of the government to protect the citizen, the life and property of the citizen in that area. That is the duty of the government. Then the third point is that is, government provide the welfare services for the people, like road, like pipe-borne waters, like stable electricity, and many others. It is the duty of the government to provide for that. Then the fourth one is my brother and sister, it is the duty of the government to promote the standard of living of its people. You can see in every developed world, they live fine because it is the duty of the government to improve their living, daily living. Then, let me rub the board and tell you more about the function performed by the government. I'm in number 4, Abi. Number 4, in the functions performed by the government, my brother and sister, is the major functions performed by the government is the provisions of law and orders. That is to say, for the peaceful coexistence of the citizen, there must be law and orders. And this is done by the government. Then the 5th point, governments maintain law and orders. That is, it is the law the law provided for by the government must be maintained by the same government. Are you with me? The law provided by the government must be maintained. It is the duty of the government to maintain laws and orders. Then the last one from the function that I want to discuss for you today, with you today, is government maintain international relations. Government maintain international relations. How does government maintain international relations? It is true by joining ECOWAS, OAU, by joining by being a member of UNO and etc. By so doing, they promote friendliness among the community of nations in the world. Now, from that, I will move to the forms of government. I will want to move now from the definition of government, function performed by the government. I will now move to what? I will now move to the forms of government. By form of government, I mean how a government of a state is being formed. How is being organized. That is what is known as what? Form of government. That is the formation of their government. An individual state, each state, form of government is quite different from one another. You cannot say Nigeria and Ghana, they adopt the same formation of government. No. So by teaching you this, you'll be able to learn and to know the various form of government that we have. My students, I believe you all understand, you have been taught before the form of government, but I want to explain better for you. My dear students, if you have any question that is giving you problem, that is giving you headache, you can see the scrolling numbers by calling us through our email address. You can contact us through the phone numbers and WhatsApp number. So you can get to us through that. Now, I will, first of all, before I write, mentioning the form of government that we have. The first form of government that we have is democracy. Number 2, we have oligarchy. Number 3, we have capitalism. Number 4, we have socialism. Number 5, we have communism. Number 6, we have totalitarianism. Number 7, we have federalism. Number 8, we have fascism, we have Nazism, and many others. But I want to explain 8 out of others. Number 1, democracy. Democracy is what is being practiced in our environment here. You see, democracy, it has many definitions. But the most acceptable definition for democracy is pronounced by Professor Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln, an American professor. So he defined democracy as the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. That is to say, democracy deals with majority of people. Let me write it on board. The of the people, by the people, and for the people. Now, under this, we have two types of democracy. The first one is what type of democracy? We have number one, we have direct democracy. Two, we have indirect democracy. I said, we have two types of democracy, direct democracy and indirect democracy. What do we mean by direct democracy? Because democracy started from Greek, where we have it is being adopted by the Greek. The source of democracy is from Greek. Mind you, my jam student, you might be asked, where does democracy come from? You have to say it's from Greek. They are the one that first of all practice what is known as democracy. My dear students, what do I mean by direct democracy? Direct democracy simply means a system in which the people directly involved in the decision making of their country. That is, when you partake in the decision making of your country directly, we call this system direct democracy. Let me write it on board. Direct democracy may be defined as the system in which the people involved directly in the decision or in decision making of their country. Number two, I said we have indirect democracy. And my dear students, you have to see, when the civilization now come, increase in the population, they can no longer practice direct democracy. We cannot be in one place and make decision, everybody, to partake in the decision making of the country. Therefore, they have to change this to indirect democracy. That is, indirect democracy may be defined as a system in which the people elect their representative. In which the people elect their representative. My dear brother and sister, When you vote during the election, you vote for some people to represent you in the decision making of your country. That is what is meant by what? Indirect democracy. Everybody cannot stand in a place and make decision and involve in decision making. You have to elect some people that will represent you in the decision making of your country. That's why we call it what? Indirect democracy. As I say, that indirect democracy may be defined as the system in which the people elect their representative. That is, they vote for the people that will represent them in the decision making of their country. And we all know that in democracy, it allows the electorate to vote for the people that will govern them. That's the meaning of democracy. Then the number 2 under the formation of government is oligarchy. 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 I said the first one under the form of government is what? Democracy. Then the second one is what? Oligarchy. What do I mean by oligarchy? Oligarchy may be defined as the form of government in which only few people rule the state. That is, oligarchy may be defined as a form of government in which only few people rule the state. That is, the people rule the state in a country where they practice oligarchy. They are so few in number, not millions. Just some people. They rule the state. Then, let me now proceed by telling you the type of oligarchy that we have. Let me go by talking about the type of oligarchy. Types of oligarchy. Types of oligarchy. Let me quickly mention the type of oligarchy before I write it on board. Number 1, we have plutocracy. Number 2, we have aristocracy. Number 3, we have gerontocracy. Number 4, we have theocracy. Number 5, we have diarchy. And many, we have plutocracy and many more. I will want to write around 6 on board. I said number 1, we have plutocracy. Number 2, we have aristocracy. Number 3, we have geronto. We have gerontocracy. Number 4, we have theocracy. Number 5, we have diarchy. We have diarchy. Then we have number 6. We have diarchy. We have militocracy. We have militocracy. What do we mean by plutocracy? What do we mean by aristocracy? What do we mean by gerontocracy? What do we mean by theocracy? What do we mean by diarchy? That is the hierarchical form of government. Or militocracy. My dear students, they are very, very simple. They are under the types of oligarchy. Plutocracy simply means the form of government in which the few rich and wealthy people rule the state. I will want to repeat myself. Plutocracy simply means the form of government in which only few rich and wealthy people rule the state. My dear students, you can see in any state where only the wealthy people rule, the form of government practice in that state is plutocracy. Then, what do I mean by aristocracy? By aristocracy, it is a form of government in which the best citizen rule the state. I want to repeat myself. Aristocracy simply means the form of government in which only the best citizen rule the state. In state where best citizen rule, we call the form of government what? Aristocracy. Then number 3, which is gerontocracy. Gerontocracy simply means the form of government under oligarchy is a form of government in which few old people rule the state. That is, in a country where only old people is ruling. The form of government they practice or adopted in that country is known as what? Gerontocracy. I will repeat myself. Gerontocracy simply means a form of government in which old people rule the state. Then the next one, which is what? Theocracy. Theocracy. It is a form of government in which priests and priestly rule the state. We are talking about religion here. When the priests, they rule the state, we call them what? Theocracy. The form of government adopted in that country is known as what? Theocracy. Then, that hierarchy. Nigeria practiced this system in 1991 and 1993 during the rulership of General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. We practiced that system of the hierarchical form of government in Nigeria here. It is a form of government in which both civilian government and military government rule at the same time. It is known as what? Diarchy. When military and civilian, they rule at the same time. Mind you, in 1991, General Ibrahim Babangida was our head of state. He's a military man. While at state level in Nigeria, we have civilian governor elected by the people of their state. So they rule at the same time. We call that form of government diarchy. Then the last one, which is militocracy, we are all familiar with what we know as militocracy, the military. That's when the uniformed men, the khaki, hijack the reign of power. We call them military. They are few in number and they will rule us. We experienced that. The first experience we have in militocracy in Nigeria is 1966, when Aguiyi Ironsi became our first head of state. Now, that is militocracy for you. That is when the military, they are few in number and they hijack the reign of power through coup d'etat. They don't enter the reign of power through election. Military enter through coup d'etat. Now, that is oligarchy for you. That's all you have to know under oligarchy. Now, I will move to the next one, which is the third form of government. We call it what? Capitalism. I want to rub and write on the board. Number 3, capitalism. Capitalism. Under Under the form of government, we have capitalism. Some states adopt capitalism as their form of government. Who introduced capitalism to the world? It's from America, USA. They are the capitalist country. What do I mean by capitalism? Capitalism may be defined as a form of government in which production, distribution, and exchange is being controlled by the private individual. That is, in a state where the citizen control the production, distribution, and exchange. We call it what? Capitalism. Simple. Let me write on board. Capitalism may be defined as a form of government in which production, distribution, and exchange is controlled by the people. E.g., we have USA. USA is the chief capitalist country in the world. Then, under capitalism, I want to introduce this to you. In capitalist state, we have two classes in capitalism. We have bourgeoisie class and proletariat class in capitalism. We have bourgeoisie class and proletariat class. Are you with me? I will repeat myself. When a country adopts capitalism as their form of government, we do have two classes. The first class is known as what? Bourgeoisie. The second class is known as what? Proletariat. What do I mean by bourgeoisie? Bourgeoisie in a capitalist state simply means the class of people that involved in the productions of goods and services. The class of people that involved in the production of goods and services, they are known as what? Bourgeoisie. While proletariat are the people that, like a civil servant, that buy what is produced by the bourgeoisie class. We call them proletariat. That is to say, it might come out in your exam. Who exploits among these two classes, who exploit one another, each other? It is the bourgeoisie that exploit the proletariat. But because the proletariat buy what the bourgeoisie produce. Then let me now move to the another form of government, which is known as what? We call it what? Socialism. Socialism. What do I mean by socialism? Don't find it difficult, my dear student. You can say listen. Socialism may be defined as a form of government in which production, distribution, and exchange is controlled by the state. That is when the government of a state control all the production, distribution, and exchange. They practice what? Socialism. I want to write it on board. Socialism may be defined as form of government in which production, comma, production, comma, distribution, and exchange is controlled by the state. It's controlled by the state. That is what is known as what? Socialism. And then you can see it's very simple. If you have any question that's giving you headache, that's giving you sleepless night, you can contact us through our rolling numbers, through email and WhatsApp address. You can contact us through that. Now, I said socialism may be defined as form of government in which production, distribution and exchange is controlled by the state. We are talking about a country that controls every aspect of its production, distribution and exchange. They are the only person. No individual can partake in this. I said, no individual in the socialist state, no private individual can partake in the production, distribution of goods and services. It is only done by the state alone. Now,